Alright, 660, 800 horsepower, 900 horsepower, 1000 horsepower switch to four wheel two motor truck. The truck is a rigid bolster, four wheel swivel type, fully equalized proper to weight, distributing both axles, one piece of frame, the cast steel to the frame, and spring supported through the parallel arrangement with the coil, semi-elliptical springs carried to the two equalizer each side. The addition of the center swiveling bearing, the two sides of the bearing face with the wear plates integral with the frame, the true safety locks for the serving limiting devices are located with the side bearings. Axle journal boxes standard plane with the bearing journals are mounted with the pedestal cast of the integral with the frame. If there is 1/4 inch total lateral movement each of the axle of the box, addition with 1/16 of the total movement of the box and pedestal lateral actual thrust taken directly through the axle stop and into each of the journal box. The traction motor drives each of the box axle through the single gear of the pinion of the motor or carry the suspension bearings over the axle spring mounting with the truck frame, carrying nose end, cooling the air and supplied with the motors of the whole hollow bolstering center plate. The brakes are classed with the two type powered two duplex cylinders per type truck with a component with the pad cast integral with the truck frame brake and the hanger bracket are also cast integral with the frame. The manual operated slack adjusters are provided in order to compensate for the brake shoes wear limit where provided is made in the foundation of the brake equipment for the handbrake connection. Removal axle, wheel, and box assembly with the motors. Remove the axle, wheel, box, and assembly from the truck with underneath the locomotive. The drop table is necessary with the provisions of the procedures as follows. Remove the flexible air duct boot connecting the motor from the truck frame bolster. Place the blocking underneath the equalizer on the side of the locomotive to hold the from the dropping of the axle, box, and wheel assembly and lowered. Remove the pedestal tie bars from the pedestal assembly to the drop. Disconnect the motor leads. Remove the standard pipe and end assemblies each of the truck. Remove the brakes and bottom of the pull rods, jack the motor nose, remove the suspension assembly. See item 3 for the assembly of the trucks. 8. Lower the nose until the safety lugs of the motor rest on the truck frame suspension spring bracket. Allow the drop table to settle slowly, keeping the motor's nose up by the jack so that the motor safety lugs will pass on the lugs of the truck frame. Continue to lower the assembly until it's free of the truck. All right, reinstalling axle of the box or assembly. The operation should be performed particularly with reverse sequence for the removal of assumed for the equalizer are still blocked for assembly removal. Then when the axle assembly resting on the drop table, the more correctly position the tilter with the nose so that the safety will then pass with the frame lugs raise the assembly until the safety lugs can rest on again at the top of the lugs. 2. Continue to raise the assembly with the normal position. Pedestal apply with the caps. Remove the blocking under the equalizer to apply the motor nose. Suspension spring assembly of the sheath. The item 3. 7. The reassemble the truck. Reapply the bottom pull rods. Reconnect the motor leads. Reapply standard pipes. Apply the motor air duct boot and air brakes and check the lubrication packaging. Alright, moving the equalizer, springs, trucks, and locomotive. Remove the pedestal, tie bars, traction motor for the air duct booth. Drop the brake pull rods. The slack adjuster ends with the brake rig and lifting the rig from the overhead crane with the jack by the jacks, preferably lifting. Raise the locomotive cab. The lifting lugs under the safety hooks between the cab and the trucks engaged with the drop table. The standard battery supports may be used under the circumstance where the axle wheel assembly should be lowered with the truck frame instead of the frame being lifted from them the hoist jacks. 4. The continuing lifting until the weight is removed with the semi-elliptical spring with the supporting the semi-elliptical spring move with the hanger pin for the drop hanger to remove. Continue raising the locomotives until the coil spring is going to be lifted with high enough to allow the equalizer spring to be removed toward the center of the truck from or under the coil springs. Alright, drop the coil springs between the equalizer, remove the equalizer spring seat, move the semi-elliptical spring lowering around between the equalizer. Reinstallation of the springs, reverse the removals procedure. Alright, removal of the truck. Before completing, the truck can be removed with the beneath the locomotive. It is necessary to relieve the truck of the chassis weight that require either the crane or hoist the jacks to be lifted with the left from locomotive battery. Stationary body is supported using in conjunction with the drop table. The installation of the red jacking lifting diagram, figure 46, 47, 48, show the location of which should be supported with approximate loads involved. The following procedures should be observed. The wood blocking should be used between the chassis support points and the jack lugs. The lifting device, the lifting should be uniform both sides of the cab, preventing unnecessary strain with the cab structure. The cab should not be lifted in excess of more than one end of each at the other until the body swivel cast and has become disabled from the truck swivel bowl. Before removing the truck, disconnect the safety hooks and end each of the side of the truck and the side bearings by area brake piping housing the hand brakes connection, standard traction motor lead. The truck is not to be dismantled. Lifting required can be reduced. The blocking is provided between the bottom of the journal box and pedestal of the tie bar. That the equalizer spring cannot raise the truck frame. After the truck may be removed by any one of the three different procedures: by dropping the table, which requires the use of the stationary body support, lifting rig overhead crane, by jacking and lifting the chassis sufficient amount of the swivel casting so that to provide clearance above the track so that they may be moved laterally from beneath the locomotive using a turntable transfer table. By jacking or lifting as an item 2 above the sufficient amount to remove the trucks longitudinally along the track, and if the raising the chassis is sufficient to clear the draft gear and the steps having first been removed. The reference should be be made jacking and lifting. Diagram figure 46, 47, 48 details the lift and load involved when using the jacks placed under the cab. The lifting lugs proceed that using lifting of the rig above. If available, the jacks have only limited travel. It may be necessary to block under the cab after reaching the limit of until jack travel. Just jack recess the jack for the repeated lift. Alright, disassemble of the truck. Remove all the pedestal tie bars. Remove all the traction motor, air duct, boost from the between the motor and bolster. Remove all motor nose, suspension springs, and the manassas follows in figure 37. Jack lift and motor noise sufficient to compress the nest of approximately 1/2 inch. Remove the cotter tighten pins of the spring holder bolts. Use the split washer to take the space between the nuts and spring holder lower bolts. Lower motors so those no longer are free of the spring nest. Alright, remove the pin, keep the drop vertical pins. Slide the spring nest out sideways. Alright, 4. Again, raise the motor nose that's provided with the clearance preparatory with the remove the frame. Raise the nose with the significant amount so that the frame lugs will clear the motor with the safety lugs when the frame is lifted upward for the axle wheel bearing assembly. Provide the frame equalizer clamping device consisting of an 8 and 1 inch diameter bolt, 3 and 1 inch long thread of the 6 feet inches long at each of the nut, and 8 steel bars 18 by 3/4 inch by 3 inches by 1 inch at each of the with 1/3/8 inch diameter hole at the each end of the hole is to be for a 4 3/4 inch apart with the center to center. With the parts noted in item 5, compressing the frame equalizer assembly, placing on one of the bars at the top of the frame, both sides at each end of the brake cylinder. For the hole on one at each of the bar directly over the slot frame, with the top of the brake lever projects. Pass the bottom does not pass bolts down through the holes in the top bar through the slot using the hanging from the lower end of the hanging of the beneath the bottom edge of the equalizer. The passing bolts down through the holes outside of the equalizer, applying the bottom bars to each of the pair of bolts underneath the equalizer, applying the nuts. Alright, tighten the nuts top of the bottom until the springs are compressed sufficient amount. Remove the pull rod pins and the opposite slack adjuster past bottom edge equalizer. Remove the pull rod pins and the slack adjuster ends. Remove the pull rods with the crane or lift frame or an equalizer assembly off the wheel and the axle assembly. Release the clamps. Remove the lift the frame of the equalizer assembly. Remove the spring disassembly springs equalizer assembly. 12. If the truck is being dismantled over the pit, if possible, remove the motor without disturbing the rest of the truck as follows. Remove the suspension spring nest as the item 3 above. Remove the air duct boot between the motor and truck frame bolster. Remove the gear in case of the dust guard, lifting the motor at the nose end of the end until the cap of the suspension bearing is at the bottom. Unbolt the cap of the drop. Access the care on handling the suspension bearings. Bearing is one half to be removed with the cap, the other half removed after the cap is removed. If not removed, the restraining inner the half of the lifting motor off the axle to prevent injury for the personnel during work and lifting motor clear of the axle. This shows your traction motor, nose support, spring holder bolt, pin keepers. Inspection maintenance. The following items should be inspected with periodically with figure 38 and clearances and wearing limits. Vertical, horizontal steel liners, both and body of the swivel casting, pedestal wearing 40 face of the corresponding face of the journal box. Bearing wearing plates of the both truck and car cab under frame. 4 spring hanger pins and bushings. 2 when applying with the new liners to be sure that all edges of the rounded where they contact the surface for the wearing of the bearing and wedge wear limits of the AAR standard practice and ICC regulations. Check lubrication for the swivel bowl. Tighten all the pipe connections. Checking the piping. Inspection of the motor nose. The spring holder for the wear. If necessary, replace the wear plates. By rigging the pins and bushings, the excessive worn brake plate and parts should be placed. See foundation. Check the clearance between the brake shoes and the wheels. See the foundation brakes. For traction motor maintenance for 660 horsepower and 1,000 horsepower locomotive maintenance manual. TP 700 for 800 horsepower, 900 horsepower maintenance manual. Instruction booklet. Check M1 2001 for traction motor maintenance. Alright, wheels. When turning the wheel, replacing the ICC requires the diameter wheel with the same axle that should not vary with the 3 and 3/4 of an inch. This is equivalent to approximately 2.5 inch tape. The is our further recommendation the wheel should not continue to serve at the diameter in the same truck varies more than 1/2 inch or 12 and 1/2 tape the under the same locomotive until the vary more the 1 inch 25 tape for turning of the replacement with the new wheels. At an the recommendation wheels should be not vary more than 1/2 tape, 1/2 the tape of the same axle, 2 tapes of the same truck, and 14 tapes on the same locomotive. Wheels should be checked periodically where in accordance with the Interstate Commerce Commission regulations. Excessive wear is found in check determination. Alright, this shows your clearance wearing, your side bearing safety hook, your your truck pedestal and box plan, your spring hanger, your overhead, your truck pedestal box, overhead box wearing in between pedestal liners, your truck bolt pedestal and box plan, roller bearings, truck center plate and truck center plate. If the brake shoes are free with not binding with the flange of wheel tread, the brake hanger, the level of the hanger of the tube, not causing misalignment of the shoe, sand pipes the other parts of the free, not following the brake rigging, thus preventing the normal operation axle-lateral non-normal excessive by the reason of worn pedestal liners, axle ends of the top, excessive variation wheel diameter, see item 1 above. When applying new shoes, they must hang in true threads. Note that not on the brakes of the pins, but because with the vibrational shock will not cause the shoes on the drag wheel, but shall permit the face of the shoe to conform with the wheel. And as wear progresses, see how the foundation breaks. For wheel mounting, refer to Figure 39. All right, axle gear bore of axle gear is 9.99 1,000 to 9.199 2,000. Diameter axle gear is 10 inches or 10 inches 10 and 1,000 of an inch. 660 100 horsepower. Bore of the axle 9.241 and minus equal minus 942.2. Diameter axle gear 9.251 minus 92.51. For complete axle gear instructions, 660 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower locomotive maintenance manual TP 700 for the 800, 900 horsepower locomotives. See maintenance instruction booklet MI 2001 traction motor maintenance. Motor suspension bearings, 800, 900 horsepower diameter axle suspension bearings, which new is 9 inches plus or minus 2,000 of an inch. As the axle wears, it must be turned into the following 3 excessive diameters undersized replacement bearings obtained. Scissor wheel axle, axle assembly, pretty much the same as all the others. 8.93, 8.875, 8.813 plus or minus 2,000 inch, 666 1,000 horsepower diameter axle suspension bearings when driven with 8.25 thousandths of an inch or plus 2,000ths of an inch. As the axle wears may be turned with the following 3 successful diameters. Undersized replacement maintenance obtain 8.188 inches, 8.125 inches, 8.063 inches, plus or minus 2,000 of an inch. For complete axle bearings instruction for the 660 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower local maintenance manual, TP 700, 800, 900 horsepower manual maintenance instruction booklet, M1 2004 floor traction motor maintenance, Seaport bulletin, DRP 1317 for undersized bearings and. Alright, foundation brakes, manual slack adjusted initially with approximately 3/8 of an shoe. 3/8 of an inch shoe. With the new wheel of the brake shoe, the setting will allow the approximately 2 inch position travel the brake application. The slack adjuster will take up the approximately 1 1/8 of an inch brake shoe with wear, plus 1 1/2 of the radial wear. When the position travels to 4 inches of the reason with the shoe, but the wear adjusting should be made to obtain the normal 22 inches. When applying the new shoes, release the adjusters, insert the new shoe, and then set the slack adjusters obtain the initial 2 inch position. Nuts on the brake head pin should be adjusted so that the variation shock will not cause the drag on the wheels shall permit the face of the shoe to conform with the wheels to progress. Replace the following brakes when specified maximum wear limits. Pin brushings were worn with 3/64 inch radial clearance, nominal clearance with the new pins with the 1/64 inch clearance. Hanger level and thickness of the pin was worn 1/8 inch brake heads with a pull rod slack adjuster when each of the jaw member the 1/16 inch. Clevis when pin holes interlocking surfaces with 1/8 inch brake heads at the base. Threading which becomes more than extent. The new shoes keys will no longer hold the shoes tightly. Brake shoes are worn to the limit where the marks indicated on the same. Slack adjuster lubrication. Slack adjuster screw will have longer life with operating much easier if oiled whenever used at the oil hole provided with the screw block. Alright, reassembly of the truck. Assembly equalizer, replacing springs, replace the frame of the equalizer. Assembly clamp with C figure 567. Assembly of the truck, the traction motor, nose supporting lugs facing toward the space axle sub-assembly. Axle assemblies at 8 foot. Centers, raising block motor nose of the truck with the frame with the clear motor with the safety lugs of the block in position. From the crane lifting frame of the equalizer, assembly the drop and place the axle wheel blocks of the motor. Assembly replace the brake as bottom of the pull rods and pins. Move the clamping device, lower the traction motor nose only enough to allow the suspension spring of the nest slid between the lugs of the motor frame and push the vertical pins of the spring nest from the bottom and apply with the pins and keepers and cutters. All right, note when the suspension spring nest is positioned before the lowering of the motors back off of the spring holder bolts and the remove of the split washer until the spring holders are fully expanded with the limits between the frame plugs and the back off the 1/4 inch further apply cotter pin. 8. Lower traction node so that the lugs will rest on the suspension attached to the traction motor of the air duct boots attach the pedestal tie bars and bolts. Reapplication of the truck locomotive. Any previous mentioned method of the truck removal will occur. Of course, that be satisfactory. Apply and following the sequence of the procedure. First, fill the swivel bowl with the oil of the filling hole. Check the steel ring inside the trim frame center and the cast iron with worn damage replace. Either by lowering the locomotive by the truck or raising the truck of the locomotive, guide the swivel plate into position. Caution and exercise care should not be to damage the air duct of the sleeve reading from the center of the truck bow. Reassemble the side bearing safety hooks. Reconnect the traction motor slow generator leads coming from the cab. Reconnect the brake pipe, hand braking, assembly sander, piping. Move the tools and rags blocking equipment so that they are in the truck of the chassis. Check the lubricating packing of the journal boxes. Adjust the center plate of the height when necessary to be raised. The center plate height to compensate the worn wheels. It may be done as follows. Adjust the liner to the total 1 inch may be applied to under the coil spring, equalizing spring. An additional 1.5 liner 1 thick of an inch must be applied with the top of the coil spring of the frame pocket. Note that the liner must have 2 1/2 inch diameter hole in the center to allow the seating over the spring sprocket to remain riveted. An additional 1 1/4 inch of the liner must be applied with the box and equalized pockets under each of the end of equalizers. And then it goes into a whole bunch of pictures.